I had like a $300,000 machine that left on Friday, got released in the US on Monday. So that's $150,000 that they owe. And there's no way of going against it.
Wow, the gall of Mark Carney. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. Today we have him blatantly disrespecting Canadians with his next trip abroad. We've got a broker explaining the real life impacts of Canadians running businesses that sell to America. We've got some other stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, we got some new polling data, an aggregate update here from Abacus data. And what we're looking at is right over here. Look at this. Mark Carney pulls away from the deal. Donald Trump flares up, starts saying, you know, Lake Ontario will be Lake America and all this stuff. And boom, Carney's up in the polls. You know, he's down to 52 now, back up to 56. Trump's got to stop playing into this. I don't think he can't, but I mean, he has to stop playing into this because the liberals are just using him and his disapproval line dropping from 32 to 29. It's not just Mark Carney. Look, Doug Ford has the same bounce. Captain Canada here. Look at this blue bounce here. Doug Ford just absolutely plummeting and boom, pops right back up. Now he's back in the lead, 39 to 35. Now jumping over to CTV News, got a bit of a compilation here of all the stuff bouncing back and forth.
Mark Carney has made headlines around the world.
You're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked.
With reaction continuing to pour in as the PM fights back against American tariffs.
I don't think American...
We're just going to stop it there. That quote they opened with, we got attacked, we got attacked. No, we didn't get attacked. The way he's framing it is making it seem like it's more than what it is. These are tariffs on our country. It's awful. If he wants to use that language, he has to say this is a tariff war, not we got attacked. Donald Trump is not rolling in the tanks. The language he's using is very nebulous, is very broad and open to let people have their own interpretations, to get scared. They're using fear to scare Canadians once again.
Are understanding it from the Canadian point of view, but this looks to Canadians like a war on Canada.
Coverage in the U.S. ranges from diplomatic.
This is not sounding like a good deal for Canada.
To outright scathing analysis of their president's goals.
The United States is interested in destroying Canada.
As the trade war makes headlines south of the border.
It is necessary to stand up to a bully.
The Wall Street Journal.
So you notice here, they're not bringing up, I mean, all the stuff I've been bringing up. We've got the Texas congressman blasting Mark Carney, calling him CCP Carney, J.D. Vance, Scott Bessent, Jamieson Greer. They all said come back to the table. And Carney's like, you know what? I'm going somewhere else, which we'll get to here in a second.
Featured BC's premier as it doubled down on his position that it's the dumbest trade war that makes no economic or political sense.
The Canadian political system is fairly united here.
Some of Donald Trump's proxies defended his position.
There's no possible way it can really affect U.S. well-being.
There is absolutely no way that President Trump is going to make a bad deal for the American people.
But Fox News has also broadcast criticism of Trump.
Remember, tariff is another word for tax.
And even his former vice president has spoken up.
The last thing we need right now, as our economy is getting back on its feet, it is a trade war with Canada.
Let's not forget. There's no doubt here. I mean, they've got Mike Pence, the former vice president, criticizing Donald Trump. So there's no doubt that there's a lot of people, whether it's Democrats, even Republicans, that are very critical of what Donald Trump's doing, and they don't like it. But on the flip side, which you don't see on this report here because it's not portraying this in an honest manner, is all the Republicans that are supporting what Trump's doing, or it's just Republicans attacking Carney for who he is, a puppet of the CCP. Carney is working in China's best interest. He's not working in Canada's best interest. And well, really, he's working in his own best interest. He's working with China, he's working with Europe, and he's using Canada to get what he wants. Money. This guy wants money and power.
Get President Trump actually question whether Canada was a legitimate country.
From Australia to the UK, Trump is being cast as the instigator.
A pattern of Trump goading the Prime Minister of Canada with public taunts about its sovereignty.
Germany's...
I mean, there's no doubt that Trump is the instigator here. The problem is Mark Carney's using Trump, and he's using his own emotions against him to flare himself up into the polls to the detriment of Canadians. That's the problem here. You know, I see a lot of rhetoric on Twitter. There's definitely a handful of boneheaded conservatives. You call them red conservatives, who don't seem to understand that two things can exist at the same time, where you don't support what Mark Carney's doing and also don't support Donald Trump's tariffs. That can exist. Somehow, a lot of these people seem to think that if you don't support Carney, then that means you support Donald Trump. That is not the case. What Donald Trump is doing here here doesn't help Canada. And it only helps America in select sectors, and it's hurting a lot of the American economy in other sectors. And this all comes down to money. Like, who are the donors? Who are the ones benefiting? And that's not just on the American side, that's on both sides.
The largest newspaper described the dispute as revolving around farmers and the myth of Canada joining the USA, as France's biggest newspaper observed the situation has revived national unity. The BBC had live coverage of developments, but also pointed out Carney sees little support from EU countries.
Mark Carney has done something very unique. It doesn't come without political risk.
The Prime Minister is still receiving plenty of praise.
Trump has finally met his match in Mark Carney,
as many Americans lament the situation.
It's heartbreaking to see what's going on right now. We love the United States, obviously, but we also love Canada.
Penny Daflos, CTV News.
If Trump really wanted to stick it to Carney here, then he should offer a really good deal and make the deal public, and then make it so Carney can't refuse the deal. And if he does, then it's clear that his motives are not for Canadians, and then he would get eaten alive in our country. The problem is Trump gets so flared up with his emotions often drive his decisions versus breaking things down with straight logic and reason. He's very emotionally driven, and this works against him because the Liberals know how to manipulate human emotion. They're masters of this. Look what they're doing to the Canadian public. All their polling and their fortunes in politics here come from scaring Canadians and using fear as a weapon against us. They don't motivate us through hope and prosperity. What prosperity has come from these guys? They've destroyed our country. Is Parliament still on summer break? What a joke. Yeah, that's what we're going to get to here. Because look at this absolute middle finger, complete insult to every Canadian in Canada. I don't care what party you vote for. This is an insult. Carney to address European Parliament, attend State of Union address. He is addressing the European Parliament before he will address Canada's parliament. This guy does not give a crap about our country. This is deplorable what he's doing here. It says Prime Minister Mark Carney will address European Parliament in Strasbourg, France in September. A statement from Carney's office today says the Prime Minister will attend European Union's annual State of the Union address. Carney's office did not confirm the date, but the trip for the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is scheduled to deliver her annual address September 16th. Carney is expected to deliver his address on the 17th. Carney's visit comes as Canada and the US are escalating trade wars. You know what? Why doesn't he send his negotiators back to the table? Why doesn't he send himself there to negotiate? He said he could negotiate a deal with Donald Trump. I don't see him negotiating nothing. When are liberals going to start asking questions like, oh, this guy doesn't actually negotiate. Oh, he's not really good at dealing with Trump. He's not dealing with him at all. Start asking some questions. Is this guy getting results? Because he's not. This is just so outrageous that he will address European Parliament before he'll address Canada. And you got the Conservatives posting this all over Twitter. Melissa Landsman saying, is this for real? The Prime Minister of Canada says this country is at war, then plans to fly over to Strasbourg to address European parliamentarians while refusing to recall Parliament of the country he claims is under attack, where he represents the people who elected him. Ouch. Conservative Party account here also posting the same thing. This is unacceptable. Carney is choosing to update the European Parliament before he speaks to Canada's. Canadians deserve answers. Reconvene Parliament now. When is Parliament back in session? Well, it's right down here. You can see. So Carney's going to address European Parliament on the 17th of September, based on that article, and Parliament in Canada reconvenes on the 21st. Like, this is unbelievable. This is the final straw. I'm talking with some people, some lawyers. I'm just checking on some stuff here. It's time to roll out a new strategy here to get this guy out as Prime Minister. Like, enough's enough. I've had enough of this. So stay tuned on that. I'll let you know when we're ready to roll things out here, because all of you will be instrumental in what's coming forward. Now, moving ahead, we got RMC86 posting once again another clip of a customs broker who's seeing what's really going on with the Trump tariffs and how bad this is for Canada.
Does that just halt the trade altogether?
No, because I had a lot of shipments that left on Friday, got picked up in Canada, and are going to be delivered on Monday. So which means that everyone that thought everything was fine, their goods were going to be covered under USMCA on Friday, got hit with a 50% tariff with goods already moving. So they can't do anything about it.
And so now they have to pay that tariff, which if you're...
So for instance, I had like a $300,000 machine that left on Friday, got released in the US on Monday. So that's $150,000 that they owe. And there's no way of going against it.
Well, let's talk about that, because we were always told that American tariffs...
Imagine ordering something and it's $300,000 and then the tariffs come in and then you get the product and like, oh, actually you owe an extra $150,000. Unbelievable. This is going to destroy businesses and lives.
Tariffs are paid by Americans, and these Canadian counter tariffs will be paid by Canadians. What is your practical experience about who is absorbing the cost?
So for the U.S. side, it's usually Canadian manufacturers. It's, small businesses. I have a client that imports sweatshirts into the United States. He's been okay recently because everything's been covered under USMCA. But now he's going to be hit with a 50% tariff. And like most industries don't operate at a 50% margin.
Now,
so they're going to be crushed.
Why is the Canadian exporter paying when it should be the American importer?
So most exporters act as what's called a non-resident importer, which means that they basically handle all of the importing costs. So that way, when they sell it to their U.S. client, it's a landed cost to them.
So they're playing both sides of the equation and then have to try to basically get more money when they're selling that product in the U.S., which I suppose might not be possible.
Yeah, so like I would say 80% of my U.S. Importers are actually Canadian manufacturers. So they're the ones that are paying. So the Canadian economy is going to be paying the U.S. tariff. Most small businesses' cash flows can't sustain this at all. So for instance, if you import something into the United States, 10 days after release, you owe the Canadian government all that tariff. And on the Canadian side, at the end of the month, you have to pay anything that was imported within that month. So any tariffs, duty, GST, everything has to be paid up front. Otherwise, you get penalties and interest. So like for a cash flow standpoint, like that's crippling.
Yeah, because if you...
This is just devastating to businesses. You know, Carney, Trump, these guys don't think about this kind of stuff. They just don't. They're in a world of their own. I mean, Donald Trump, billionaire. Mark Carney, is he a billionaire? And look how many stocks the guy has. He's definitely in the tens, if not hundreds of millions for his net worth. It's not like he's investing in 567 companies with $100 in each company. They're so detached from reality of what real people have to deal with on a real basis here to live their lives. And then these tariffs are catastrophic to everyday people trying to just make a living.
To use the example of the $300,000 machine, you're saying who has $150,000 cash flow just sitting around?
Yeah, in 10 days. And if you don't pay it, then you get a penalty, then you get interest, then you can't import anymore. Maybe they seize your property. Like you're talking about governments not getting paid, right? At this point in time, like everyone's getting hurt. Everyone can't, like there's only so much that you can increase your prices for to your end consumer before, you know, everyone just says, okay, like enough. So I think everyone's just, this can't even be navigated properly. So most people at this point have to just stop importing and have to take a pause, use the inventories that they have right now and hope for the best in the next coming weeks.
Carney is increasing taxes on Canadians up to 50% on products, stuffing that money away in the government coffers, likely shuffling that out to places we'll never get benefit from, like consultants like McKinsey or gender-sensitive projects in Africa. And he doesn't cut taxes for Canadians, and Canadians are ones going to be losing their businesses because of this. And not only from the increased cost, but I mean, just listen to what she says here. There's going to be these huge duties to pay. These businesses won't have cash flow to even cover that, especially the stuff where it just happened over the day it switched with the border tariffs and then people order a product and now they owe an extra 50%. They're like, whoa, I can't afford that. That wasn't what I paid for. What a mess. Now, something else going on here. Listen to this. So on CTV, they got this report. People started complaining because of a Kemptville grocery store in Ontario was selling American booze. People started calling them in like they're criminals. CTV went to investigate.
Well, amid the trade war, the federal government is urging people to continue buying Canadian. The sentiment certainly still strong, which is why some shoppers in Kemptville were surprised and upset to see American wine on shelves at a local grocery store. CTV's Dylan Dyson was in Kemptville and brings us more on this tonight. Dylan.
Yeah, Patricia, we were alerted to this by a viewer who said a store in Kemptville had set up a full display in the front of the beer and wine section, prominently selling wine from California. I saw the wine on display this morning, and within hours of contacting Loblaw, the dusty U.S. bottles were pulled from the shelves once again.
This is so ridiculous. Who cares? You don't want to buy it? Then don't buy it. This is not rocket science here. If somebody wants to buy it, then they can buy it. You want to be elbows up, then buy the Canadian stuff. Why are they demonizing a business trying to sell a product? You know, they're going to put this in the back warehouse and it'll go past their expiry date, and then they'll lose thousands of dollars of value here from the business. Then what? They shut down? The jobs get lost from this business? These people need to think for once.
American wine temporarily back on store shelves in Kemptville, Ontario.
I don't know why they would do it.
At the Johnson's, your independent grocer on...
Now, obviously, this is not going to shut down this independent grocer because of the big business. But I mean, are they going to go around policing every single mom and pop shop that sells stumbling juice? And like, oh, this one's got American wine from California. Like, there's real effects to this. If people don't want to buy it, then don't buy it.
Tuesday, bottles of red and white CK Mondavi wine from California were displayed prominently at the front of the store's beer and wine section.
I think we should be sticking to Canadian wine, not American, especially what's going on with Trump.
It's not my choice that they would do that, but I choose not to purchase anything.
It's unclear.
There you go. Don't buy it. You know what probably happened here is like, oh, okay, we need to put the stumbling juice back on the shelves because of the negotiations. Carney walked away from the deal and these guys already put it out. That's likely what happened here. But instead they're running this and they're painting this business like it's some sort of evil corporation for doing this.
How long the products had been on the shelves for, a viewer said they first noticed the wine for sale on Sunday. The bottle is still on display Tuesday morning. But when CTV News reached out to Loblaw, the parent company of the Your Independent grocer chain, it said the wine was put on the shelves without the approval of the store owner. And once identified, it was removed immediately.
It bothers me they don't sell it at the liquor store. We're trying to, I don't boycott the States, but I'm not trying to buy anything from the States purposely. But it bothers me. I wouldn't buy it.
Ontario implemented a province-wide ban on U.S. booze back in March 2020.
This is the dumbest story I've ever seen in my life. It's not like this happened 3 or 4 months ago. They were just talking about bringing it back onto the shelves in regards to the deal. That's why probably someone put it out. But they're making this like it's some big crazy catastrophe that's happened in Canada. How dare they put California wine on the shelves? I'm sure the comments are good on this one. Dump it all out. Without the owner's knowledge, elves brought it in overnight. They're sneaky that way. Speaks volumes about Loblaw's time to boycott them. Oh, there's a bunch of elbows up in this comment section. Loblaws should be fined. Patriotic Canadians in Kempville. People talking about banning Loblaws. Now pull their license. Pull their license, folks, for putting out the California wine. They're so evil. It's actually shocking. Most of the comments are elbows up crazies who have no logic or reason in their own brains. TDS at its finest. Destroy the bottles. Moving ahead, we've got this one here from Surrey, BC. More South Asians abusing animals. Look at this. There's more pigeons tied to these poles where they keep trying to get them to fly away, but they can't because they're chained up to the pole. Like, can we, come on. Animal abuse is not allowed in Canada, guys. Somebody go arrest these people. Let them know you can't chain up an animal and then torment it to try to fly away when it can't. This is sick. This part of this culture needs to be banned in Canada, period. You don't like it? Well, then don't live here.